Welcome back to create the navbar for our landing page. In today's video, we will make the drop-down interactive, which means on hover in, the triggered contents will drop, and on hover out, the contents will disappear. Also, we would like to complete the hero section like the design, and this should be easy. So let's jump right into it. As we can see, the contents of the trigger div is visible. The plan is we will create a new class for the trigger div. Let's say 𝗲𝗍𝗃𝗃. So basically, when the class trigger and hide are working combinedly, we want the trigger div to be hidden. So let's see the preview. Yes, like that. Now, our next step would be to add an interaction that will drop the content on hover. You cannot use the hover status here as we used for the link items in our previous video. The reason is the links used the status hover to trigger underline for itself. But here, when the pages is hovered, a whole different element will be triggered with different styling. Yeah, so that's the baseline. Let's see how we can do that. So the interaction will be active when we hover over the pages. Select pages, then interaction, then on the hover of pages, what should be affected? An element, which is a trigger div, and when will it be affected? On mouse hover. But which selector should be responsible for making the trigger? It's link block dupe for us, as it holds the overall style and action for pages. And how the changes should appear? And that is where we add the response. Let's add a custom response for the action hover in, naming the response as hover in. So on hover, we want this trigger div to be triggered. After the custom response window pops up, the first thing we will do is select the target, which is the trigger div for us. In this three-dot option, you will find on what class the response will be applied to. And for us, it is trigger hide. And then you can click on this blank window to add the styles, or maybe choose from this panel. We will select change class here and want the hide class to be removed, so the trigger content will be visible again. As you can see, an action appeared here and it has some options at the bottom. We want to remove a class, and that is hide. Also, we want the opacity to be 1. Next we do is duplicate the same thing to hover out and rename hover out. On hover out, we want to add the class hide again and the opacity to 0. Let's run and check if it's working. Yes, it's functioning. So yes, it's that easy. And let's just add a bit of transition here to the opacity, maybe 400 milliseconds for hover in, timing function to ease, and 300 milliseconds for hover out and timing function to ease again. Let's check again. And the hover is smoother now. Now let's inspect the design a bit. The hero section has 4 segments here. What we want to do is simply have 2 horizontal divs, and then we'll make a vertical partition within these 2 divs. So let's do this. First, under this hero section, let's take 2 divs. Let's rename it div upper and div lower. And take 2 more divs inside each of them. Fast forward, let's rename them and assign classes. Also, let's set the flex direction to row for the elements of the div upper and div lower. Next, let's first deal with the B div. Take a heading element and reset the default margins. Then we will change the typography. Font cyan, 428 pixels, line height 278 pixels, capitalize, weight semi-bold. Now let's give the div a bit of styling. The background color, hex code F9E606. Then structure, let's manage the flex child and self-align to center. And let's add the padding, top and bottom 145 pixels and left right to 39 pixels. Done. Let's build and check. Yes, it's nicely done. For the creative div, let's add a heading and an SVG element. Also, let's flex the div, edit the text, and let's just copy the SVG code and paste it in here. For both the heading and 𝗲𝗍𝗃, let's reset their structure and size accordingly. Give the div a background color. The hex code is 28FB9A. Then the heading font, 𝗖𝗵, size 180 pixels, line height 117 pixels, capitalize, weight semi-bold, structure, flex child, and self-align to center. Let's give the 𝗲𝗍𝗃 a width of 293 pixels and a height to 246.2 pixels, and structure, self-align to center. Then let's just give the whole div a padding of top 238 pixels, bottom 83 pixels, left 61 pixels, and right will be 113 pixels. Also, let's give a horizontal gap of 21 pixels for the heading and 𝗲𝗍𝗃. Done. Now the third one. Let's take a 𝗲𝗍𝗃 element and copy the 𝗲𝗍𝗃 code from the design and paste it. Add the background color to the div, like the previous one. And then let's reset the 𝗲𝗍𝗃 size and assign the new ones for 33 pixels in the width and 343.26 pixels in the height. Also add the padding to the div. Top padding is 54 pixels, bottom one 82, left 110, and right 111 pixels. The last part, let's add two heading elements, flex them to row, and reset their structure, making the default margins 0. Also, structure, flex child, and self-align to center. Now for the first heading element, let's make change in the typography. 𝗖𝗵, size to 30 pixels, line height 150 pixels, capitalize, weight semi-bold. And for the exclamatory characters here, let's install the font 𝗲𝗍𝗃𝗀𝗃, weight medium, size 387.07 pixels, and line height 275 pixels. Text decoration italic. Also, let's color the div black and change the text to white. Now we will add the padding for our div. Top padding 72 pixels, bottom 132 pixels, left 63, and right 112 pixels, and a horizontal gap of 87 pixels. Cool. And with that, we are all good to go. Let's check the preview. Yes. So our next task would be to make this portion responsive. For a tab view and the mobile view, the hero should look like this. And we will also try to add a bit of logical interaction here so that the hamburger menu gives a smooth transition while spreading the contents here. You can try to solve this till the next video. Stay tuned and see you in the next one.